Tantor Audio presents the Adrenal Reset Diet. Strategically cycle carbs and proteins to lose weight, balance hormones, and move from stressed to thriving. By Alan Christianson, NMD. Narrated by Tom Perkins. Publisher's Note: this audiobook is packaged with bonus material, which has been included on the first audio and MP3 CD. If you downloaded this audiobook in a digital format, please visit Tantor.com and type the Adrenal Reset Diet into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page, then click on PDF Extra 1. When prompted, enter the access code INFLAMMATION to access the bonus material. If you encounter any issues downloading the PDF, please email customerservice@tantor.com for assistance. Foreword. Science tells us that losing weight is 80% diet and 20% exercise. But after 20 years of medical practice, I don't buy it. My friend and colleague, Dr. Alan Christianson, has an explanation that makes far more sense. The reason you're having trouble losing weight is that your hormonal rhythms are out of whack, specifically stress hormones, such as cortisol. This fact leads skillfully to the fix. Reset your adrenal rhythms, stress hormones, and cortisol pattern. Dr. C's book takes you by the hand and shows you how to fix the problem and get lean. But first, you may wonder, like David Byrne, how did I get here? Alan expertly describes how getting fat is a survival response from our DNA. When you're running around, crazed by stress, you turn on the fat storage genes and create havoc with your stress hormones. When the survival response disrupts the adrenal rhythms, you gain weight. As if that weren't bad enough, restricting food and over-exercising doesn't help because they deepen the survival response. Your body fears you're in for a famine, so it shuts down your metabolism. I know this pattern very well after living through it myself as a working mom. Have you heard the analogy that life is like a 4-burner stove? It goes like this. One burner represents family, another is friends, another is health, and the last one is work. You can't have all 4 burners going at once. To manage life skillfully, you need to have 3 out of 4 burners in the on position. If you want to be very successful, you have to choose 2 of the 4 burners. Sure enough, when I was in my 30s, I tried to keep all 4 burners going and flipped my body into survival mode. I got fat, frazzled, and frumpy. Maybe you find yourself in a similar situation. It took applying my world-class medical education to my own misery to sort out my disrupted biology. I was fortunate to write a book about it, a bestseller called The Hormone Cure. I discovered through my own healing, and after losing 25 pounds, that the root cause of my fatness was my stress-crazed life and broken adrenal rhythms. It made me store belly fat, as if I were an Irish farmer in the midst of a famine and didn't know when my next meal would be. It robbed me of the happy brain chemicals like serotonin, and it aged me, and my DNA, prematurely. Truth can be frustrating yet effective. Truth is sacred and liberating, but initially it can be frustrating, especially when it involves changing the way you eat and move. That's where Dr. Alan Christianson excels. He's like a knight in shining armor with a white doctor's coat. Alan offers his patients, and now you, the bold yet effective truth about how to craft a plate and a life scientifically designed to heal your broken metabolism. Dr. C also models his powerful message every minute of his life. Paging Dr. Alan Christianson. I met Alan many years ago at a health conference hosted by a mutual friend, J.J. Virgin. At the time, Dr. C was a highly regarded Arizona-based naturopathic medical doctor, NMD, who specialized in natural endocrinology with a focus on thyroid and adrenal disorders. I liked Dr. C so much that I went to visit him the next time I gave a speech in Scottsdale. In his typical fashion, Alan brought me from the airport to his clinic, Integrative Health Care, and gave me intravenous glutathione. My adrenals perked right up. That night after my dinner-time speech, I stayed with Alan and his lovely family in Scottsdale. He served me the food he describes in this new book, and didn't serve me the bad stuff, such as coffee or wine. After 8 hours of sleep, I woke up to the fragrant smell of Dr. C cooking a low-carb breakfast of pastured eggs, sausage, and organic greens, while his wife performed beauty pageant leg lifts, preparing for a bathing suit photo shoot. By the time I hit the kitchen with my mouth watering, he had a 2-hour hike planned for us, and had packed filtered water, trekking poles, and a nutrient-dense lunch. I eyed him a little skeptically as he described the various hiking options. We could hike for 4 hours and go straight to the airport afterward, or take a more leisurely 2-hour hike and have time for lunch. I chose the latter. Alan took me on a favorite hike in the McDowell Mountains. I mention the visit because it demonstrates Dr. C's searing wisdom and how he walks the talk. Alan puts it all together in a way that's incredibly valuable for people who seek to lose weight and feel better fast. Kindly allow me to unpack the various pieces of the puzzle that he believes contribute to our adrenal health and natural weight maintenance. Intravenous glutathione is one of the best antioxidants. It removes the rust of modern life. The lack of alcohol. Alan doesn't drink on a regular basis, and alcohol uses up your internal store of glutathione. A low-carb breakfast supports your innate cortisol curve. The long hike was designed to improve my glycogen sensitivity, which is one of the body's ways of balancing glucose. You see, my tendency is to make too much cortisol in the morning, above the ideal level, and Alan explained that when I do long, slow distance, LSD, exercise, I will improve my adrenal rhythm in the morning. Even cooler is the fact that I only need to do LSD such as hiking or biking a few times per month for 3+ hours. Trekking poles reduce pressure from hiking. Not only do they provide better balance and footing, they also decrease the amount of stress on your legs and joints on downhill slopes. When climbing uphill, trekking poles transfer some of your weight to your shoulders, arms, and back, which can lower leg fatigue and add thrust to your climbs. Overall, trekking poles can reduce compressive force on the knees by up to 25%. Fortunately, you don't need to travel to Phoenix to get Alan's nurturing guidance. What you are listening to holds the keys to the kingdom. How Dr. Alan Christianson can help you. I found that about 90% of the people in my functional medicine practice have a problem with cortisol. This is a major issue. As Dr. C says, a bad cortisol slope is more dangerous than smoking, documented in the Whitehall 2 study from 2011. What role does cortisol play in metabolism? Cortisol is a catabolic chemical, meaning it causes wear and tear if it is too high, which in turn can make you gain weight and crave sugar. Your adrenal glands do a delicate dance to maintain your weight, and when your cortisol is too high, the rhythm is disrupted. How can you fix it? Alan has found a unique way to turn the ship around. If your problem is a flat cortisol plane, when your exhausted adrenals don't know how to maintain their normal cycle of high in the morning, low at night, eat a low-carb breakfast to aim for the ideal zone. Eat slow carbs at dinner. Slow to digest yams are my favorites, to shut off cortisol so you can get the sleep you need to build and repair all that wear and tear from the day. Start with breakfast. I like eating a good, solid, protein-rich breakfast because I need my energy all day. I simply feel better. Alan's book made me realize just how strong an effect breakfast can have on my cortisol pattern. Nor should I borrow from tomorrow's energy today by drinking coffee all day just to get through. Every day should be like a profit center that is self-sustaining. If you think you're doing yourself a favor by waking up to whole grain cereal with low-fat milk and a cup of orange juice, you might want to think again. I know you were told at some point that it's a good breakfast, but the truth is that this standard breakfast is largely converted into triglycerides, contributing to a problem with cortisol. Before long, you'll find yourself, as I did, with burned-out adrenal glands. Why old school no longer applies. We know that the old model of calorie counting and input versus output is failing for a lot of people for a variety of reasons. Let's tease some of the stuff out. Even without being diabetic, you may develop insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. Your cells can't respond properly to insulin, so your body tries pumping out more. And as a result, you suffer from uncontrolled blood sugar. Then the dance continues. The adrenals jump in, trying to balance the blood sugar, and your cortisol goes out of control. Cortisol then tells your body, "Whoa, you're in trouble. Store some fat for a rainy day." You know the end of this story. You gain weight. This book is for you even if you're at a healthy weight, but you've got too much fat. We call that skinny fat. You may look good in a t-shirt, but your belly is doughy. Not to scare you, but skinny fat people have double the mortality rates of obese or overweight people. Mainstream medicine doesn't believe in adrenal dysregulation. Many doctors will likely dismiss you if you try to discuss it with them. They'll say that your adrenal glands are either perfectly fine or in failure. There's no middle ground. In actuality, thousands of studies show that your adrenals and their functions in that in-between state can be associated with problems including obesity, high blood sugar, and insulin resistance. Dr. Allen studied his protocol. Dr. C put his theories to the test and offered his program to a group of 42 people last year, 88% female with a mean age of 45. After 30 days, he found the following results with just his diet alone. Weight loss of 9 pounds, 2% drop in body fat, 2 inches lost off the waist, significant improvement in adrenal rhythm as measured in 4-point or diurnal cortisol level. Remember, the most important thing is to have a good cortisol slope. If you have that, awesome. If your morning cortisol ramps up too high, then it is a matter of improving your glycogen sensitivity, how you store glucose. Sometimes you can spike morning cortisol above the ideal when your adrenals work harder for gluconeogenesis, the process of turning glucose from substances other than carbs into glucose. Here's where Alan's diet prescriptions come in. Exercise helps too. While it's not as time efficient as burst training, LSD, long slow distance, training helps. Do something that is ongoing for a few hours, such as hiking or biking, even a few times a month. As I said earlier, I was my own worst enemy, going on all 4 burners. But then I applied my medical training to my broken body. Alan grew up as a fat kid. When he got tired of being different, he used his formidable intellect to overcome his challenge by reading dozens of nutrition and fitness books, then giving up sugar and beginning an exercise regimen. As an adult, he studied medicine, but realized that the mainstream medical approach doesn't have all the answers. As a naturopathic physician, Alan has transformed his lifelong love of learning and his education and experience into a surefire program to teach others how to use foods and nutrients for optimal health, including weight loss. Listen to it, get lean, and be well. Sarah Gottfried, M.D., Berkeley, California. Sarah Gottfried, M.D., is one of the foremost authorities on how to reset hormones with evidence-based integration of modern medicine and ancient traditions. She is the author of The Hormone Cure: Reclaim Balance, Sleep, Sex Drive, and Metabolism Naturally with the Gottfried Protocol. Introduction. For years, you've been trying to improve your health. Despite your best efforts, your body does not cooperate. You have tried so many diet and exercise regimens, yet none has helped. Experts offer advice, but it is often contradictory. Some say you need to eat less sugar. Others say that the problem is you spend too much time indoors being sedentary. Many blame the illness on an indulgent personality. By the way, the year is 1879, and you are suffering from tuberculosis. As if the physical suffering from this illness were not enough, you have also suffered from guilt, thinking it was your fault. You were told you would get better if only you tried harder and stopped being lazy. You were told to think better thoughts, avoid certain foods, and do specific exercises. When you did not recover, instead of doubting the advice being handed out by the medical community, you found it easier to believe that you hadn't tried hard enough. Many years before tuberculosis was widely understood, scientists like Benjamin Martin believed that it was caused not by character, but by wonderfully tiny living creatures. Along with tuberculosis, other diseases were attributed to and blamed on personal character, including leprosy, smallpox, and cancer. Today we are in the same situation. Scientific information is out of sync with common beliefs. Even though science tells us that obesity is no more caused by character than tuberculosis was, many still continue to blame the victim. Not only is this hurtful, but it also shifts the focus away from effective change. Most people still believe that body weight is simply a matter of calories in via diet versus calories out via exercise. The assumption is that those who cannot lose weight are simply not trying hard enough. They are eating too much. They are slothful. It's their fault. Many popular slogans, magazine headlines, and book titles reflect this. Eat less, move more. Or display a eat this, not that mentality. Yet this thinking is not up to date or correct for a large portion of the population. The correct information, however, is exciting. Current research shows that what our bodies do with food depends on whether we are in a mode of thriving or surviving. A little set of glands, called the adrenals, is the master controller of these modes. Our adrenal glands control a switch that causes us to thrive, meaning we burn fat and feel energized, or just survive, meaning we store fat and feel tired. Processed food, pollutants, and the pressures of life can all push us into this survival mode. As important as survival mode is for short-term crises, if we spend too much time in it, we gain weight, age faster, and die earlier. I have a vivid memory of the moment when I got stuck in survival mode. I was in second grade, and I believed that chocolate chip cookies were among the only things that made the world a better place. My family had just moved to work at a resort in northern Minnesota. One day I managed to sneak a full handful of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies out of the kitchen. I vividly remember that somewhere past the third cookie, the pain of the recent move seemed to melt away. Over the next 5 years, I continued to gain weight, until one memorable day in 7th grade gym class. A group of boys were debating who had the biggest boobs in our class. One of them managed to think outside the gender box and nominate me for the title. I already knew he was right, but I had hoped until then that others hadn't noticed. After that painful day, I absolutely had to change. I read every book my library had that sounded promising. Most were on diet and exercise, but some were on health and medicine. After trying many different methods, I started to learn some things. One thing I learned was that if I starved myself or over-exercised, I only got hungrier. Sugar and bread were not too hard to give up, but only as long as I gave them up completely. My parents ordered me protein powders from a mail-order supplement company, and I used them for breakfast. Breathing exercises I learned from yoga seemed to make these changes easier to stick with. Over the next year, the weight came off. Not only was I able to play sports, but I also became one of the better athletes in our school. I was able to enjoy how great it felt to live fully and experience good health. Several years later, a house fire taught me how easy it could be to lose that good feeling. My family was fine, but we lost our pets and all of our possessions. To help us get back on our feet, I spent every moment I was not in school working at a restaurant. My stress levels were high. I had constant access to unhealthy food, and my exercise regime stopped. Soon, I was 30 pounds above target and completely out of shape. Teenage angst led my next attempts at dieting, this time to become too extreme. I ate fewer foods and a lot less of them. Imagine living on a few servings of raw vegetables while being in school, working, and running 6 to 10 miles outdoors in the northern Minnesota winter. I lost weight, but I soon found myself both unhealthy and depressed. Books came to my rescue again. One of the most memorable was the first edition of the Textbook of Natural Medicine by Michael Murray, N.D. Little did I know then that many years later Dr. Murray would become a personal friend and ask me to help author portions of the 9th edition of that same book. Dr. Murray's book taught me that I needed a more balanced diet with more calories, adequate protein, healthy fats, and more mineral-rich foods. As a result, not only did my health flourish, but I also reconnected with my earlier interest in medicine. My life's focus shifted away from my personal needs. I wanted to deepen my understanding of nutrition and use it to help others the same way it had helped me. Finding a medical school whose curriculum focused on nutrition was a dream come true. My interest in the interplay of hormones and obesity emerged while I was working with a memorable young woman during my internship. Jamie was a 16-year-old girl who was about to be forced to withdraw from high school. Jamie was bright and an eager student, but she was too sore and tired to get out of bed. After a really bad case of the flu the year before, nothing had been as before. Her weight shot up, and all of her muscles hurt. At the time, most doctors did not recognize fibromyalgia as a real condition, but one doctor who did said that this was the culprit. Unfortunately, there was no known cure. I realized that, as much as my health had bothered me in the past, Jamie's condition was much worse. My supervising doctor let me spend time with Jamie's chart in the medical research library. I managed to piece together a few things. Jamie's symptoms were similar to those of thyroid disease. Her mother and grandmother both had thyroid disease. The other doctors said this could not be the cause of Jamie's symptoms because her thyroid blood tests were normal. Yet I found studies showing that sometimes the common tests for thyroid function failed to show the disease when it was just starting. My supervising doctors were willing to do more detailed tests, and these confirmed that Jamie was suffering from thyroid disease. Treating this condition allowed Jamie to get back to her studies and attend her prom. Although the thyroid treatment helped spur her initial weight loss, it took more investigation to get her back to her goal weight. I discovered that her thyroid disease had hurt her adrenal glands. I had suspected this because she was often dizzy from low blood pressure, and she had strong salt cravings, and these were both signs of poor adrenal function. Once we identified this problem and helped coax her levels back to their optimal range, she was able to truly thrive again. After seeing Jamie get her life back, I became even more convinced that many puzzling conditions have a hormonal root cause. Jamie has since grown up, gotten a degree, and is raising a beautiful family. To me, nothing is more important than being able to help someone like Jamie move to a place of better health and more happiness. The program, the Adrenal Reset Diet, is the culmination of a child's frustration, decades of research, and over 75,000 patient care visits. The Adrenal Reset Diet really is different because it is not a low-anything diet. In fact, Too little food and too much exercise can actually cause weight gain. Food is the cure, not the enemy. Some unique aspects that make my system work and that benefit you beyond weight loss include: carbs are not forbidden. Instead, carbohydrates are cycled, so you can reverse the effects of processed foods on visceral fat stores. Circadian rhythms are fixed. This helps you sleep better and allows your liver to help control your weight. Clarity is restored through 5-minute rituals. These keep the pressures of life, stress, from damaging your brain and raising your appetite. Now we come to the most important part of this story. You. No matter how long you have struggled with your weight, or how many diets have failed you, it has not been your fault. You have never lacked willpower or courage. You are not weak or indulgent. Your body has been under stress from processed food, pollution, and the pressures of life. It has been trying to help you survive the only way it knows how. Soon you will learn why this happens and how you can gently switch from surviving to thriving. We all have something to share with the world, yet this is hard to realize when our health feels out of control. I know how amazing it is to be able to put a long struggle to the side and get on with your life, to realize its purpose and mission. How would your life be if nothing was holding you back? Let's find out. Alan Christianson, NMD, Scottsdale, Arizona. 1. Why are we gaining weight? One of my favorite possessions is a copy of Time magazine from July 1969. The cover story is about the historic Apollo 11 moon launch. The main picture in the story shows hundreds of people standing in an observation field, looking to the sky as the rocket lifts off. Recently, I looked again at the photo with a vague sense that there was something odd about it. After looking several times, I suddenly realized what it was. Everyone in the crowd was unusually thin. The observers were mostly men, and they looked to be mostly in their early 40s. In the 1960s, the average American male between the ages of 40 and 45 weighed 169 pounds. By the year 2000, that average weight was 196 pounds, nearly 30 pounds heavier. A similar crowd today would look quite different yet again. A global obesity crisis. The stats. By 2010, rates of obesity had increased yet more. Over 69% of American adults had become overweight or obese. And the same changes had happened worldwide. The number of overweight and obese adults around the world began creeping up in the 1970s, and then it doubled between 1980 and 2008. It is estimated that there are now over 1.4 billion adults in the world who are overweight. For the first time in human history, deaths from obesity-related illnesses have surpassed deaths from all other causes, including malnutrition and infectious disease. If these deaths were not bad enough, the costs of managing future decades of chronic diseases are projected to cripple the global economy. It is estimated that, in the next 20 years, obesity-related diseases will cost the global economy in excess of $30 trillion. To put this into perspective, the 9/11 attacks on the United States, combined with the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, are estimated to have cost roughly $5 trillion. There is no doubt that people are gaining weight faster than ever before. But why is this happening? Cutting-edge medical research has some good answers, but unfortunately most of the public and the majority of policymakers base their beliefs about obesity on theories we now know are not true. The popular view blames obesity on too many calories, too little willpower, and bad genes. It's not that simple. The calorie theory, no longer in. Let's start with the calorie model for weight gain. It certainly is appealing in its simplicity. People gain weight because they eat more calories than they burn. Although the calorie model does reflect what happens to healthy people in controlled settings, it does.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?